And happy Sunday, everyone. I'm Jonathan McNamara with JMU Sound Off, and welcome to a live edition of Sound Off. Sunday night, 8 p.m. We are back. The Dukes are undefeated in Sunbelt play for the 2025 season, an incredible accomplishment. We're going to get into all of that later in the show, but before that, we're going to have a conversation with JMU Athletic Director Matt Roan about what is a wild and crazy landscape of college athletics, as well as to look forward to Tuesday's Diggin' Dukes campaign and then the Sunbelt Championship game that will take place at 7 p.m. on Friday night inside a cold and perfect Bridgeport Stadium. We're going to get into all of the logistics and everything you need to know if you want to make sure that you are in the stands on Friday night. And then we are going to recap yesterday's game against Coastal Carolina and look forward to what is bound to be a tremendous game against Troy in the Sunbelt Championship, our first ever. So a jam-packed show. So with that, we're going to get to our sponsors first. Skyline Financial Partners. Remember that you can empower your family for lasting financial success by visiting SkylineFinancialPartners.com. Champions Drive Bourbon. Remember that with every bottle that you purchase of Champions Drive, you're supporting student athletes in JMU's pursuit of championships. You can find an ABC store near you that sells Champions Drive at abc.virginia.gov. Want to recognize our friends from Where's Woody. Remember that you can get 25% off the entire Where's Woody shop by entering promo code SOUNDOFF25 for 48 hours after every Sound Off broadcast. Perfect place to shop during the holiday season. Want to recognize Purple Nation. They are doing an incredibly important promotion for those who make a donation of $100 or more to the Diggin' Dukes campaign. All you have to do is show your donation receipt at the register at any one of the Purple Nation store locations. Remember, you can find one in Northern Virginia, the west end of Richmond, Midlothian, and at the beach. And you're going to get 20% off your entire purchase, and that's on purchases before December 15th. An incredible initiative by Carol Bonassi to try to increase donations during this critical time for Diggin' Dukes. So again, thank you to Purple Nation. Want to recognize Shoker and Associates, the Dead Meat Society. Congratulations to Chris Ward. He was our tailgater of the day. I had the pizza oven out there in Conway, South Carolina. Just an awesome experience for him, getting him back on campus at Coastal Carolina. Remember that you can join the movement for grilling enthusiasts at deadmeatsociety.com. Outdoor Kitchen Creations. You can take your outdoor kitchen to the next level by visiting backyardtrends.com. And then finally, Valley Road Vineyards. Next time you're on I-64 between Harrisonburg and Richmond, stop by, tell them that you heard about the winery from Sound Off, and you'll get 50% off your wine flight. And remember to consider them for all of your holiday destinations, weddings, rehearsal dinners, and birthday parties. You can learn more at valleyroadwines.com. And with that, we are going to bring in JMU Director of Athletics, Matt Roan, to the conversation. Matt, thanks for taking time out of what I'm sure is a slightly busy schedule. Nothing going on in the world of college athletics for you, I'm sure, but I know this is an important time for you when you wanted to speak directly to fans. But we're going to start with yesterday. First of all, pretty special Saturday afternoon in Conway, South Carolina. JMU now undefeated in Sunbelt play, only seventh team to go unbeaten on an 8-game schedule in Sunbelt play. I wanted to just give you a chance to talk about how special that is and how proud you are of this staff and the student athletes and everyone who supports this team for this accomplishment. It's pretty incredible.
No, for sure. And I can't get too close to the camera so you don't see these dark circles under my eyes right now, right? But
I have them too.
you mentioned Chris Ward, and I didn't know that he was at the game yesterday. I saw a guy that had a similar nose and similar
Yeah.
glasses, but I didn't think Chris Ward actually made that trip down yesterday. But we'll leave that one there. But
Yep.
no, all kidding aside, for us to anytime you're 11-1, when you look at how hard it is to win, when you look at the ways that we've had to win, that was one of the things that Bob and I talked about on the plane last night. We've had games where we rolled from the start, right? We've had games where we had to make adjustments at halftime to roll in the second half. We've had games where we went into halftime and it wasn't looking good, right? And we had to fight and claw. We've had games where we've gotten people minutes late in the games, and we've had those games where we've had to get a stop late in the fourth quarter in order to come out successful. And so, it's the accumulation of those things. It's 12 opportunities to win 11 of them. And even the one that we lost to put forth the effort that we did on a national stage. You're going to get everybody's best shot, right? You saw yesterday that was a 6-5 team that we played that ran 65 trick plays, it felt like at times. You're going to be everybody's Super Bowl as we move forward, and we're going to get everybody's Troy's best shot on Friday night. But the resolve, the accumulation of talent, how that talent has been developed by a coaching staff that cares, That's what I'm most proud about. And to even see, in all the way in Conway, South Carolina, how well we traveled, right? You
Yeah, it was
look up
incredible.
behind the bench in the upper decks, even on the home side behind Coastal's bench, there was a lot of purple in there, and it makes you proud to be associated with this program.
Yeah, just an incredible turnout. That's the thing that really struck me yesterday is just how many JMU people made the trip, a commitment to follow this team and show the support from start to finish. I know we talked earlier in the season about the challenge to sell out every home game at Bridgeford
Yep.
Stadium, but the thing that I'm always struck by is the people and the numbers that are willing to travel wherever JMU is playing a football game. There's always a sea of purple, and it was just a really stark contrast to some of the other programs and some of the other games that we've seen over the last 10 days and a busy time of year
Yeah.
where there's a lot that
Yeah.
people are competing for people's time, and so many people made that a part of their holiday season. It was tremendous. I did want to touch on today. It was a pretty crazy day across college football, whether it's the situation with Lane Kiffin going to LSU, so many different coaching carousels happening across the country. I did want to ask you, it's wild enough for fans of college football like us who are refreshing Twitter every 2 seconds. I did want to ask you what it's like for you as you're trying to navigate this program through what at times feels like kind of a hurricane that's changing by the minute. I can only imagine for you and your colleagues, it's particularly interesting to hear the perspective of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think conversations, right? Conversations around the country with people who sit in the same seat that I sit in at different programs, different schools. Certainly finding comfort in the conversations that I have on campus as we plan and prepare and try to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that we continue that upward trajectory. Talking to um, the people who are here, right? The people who represent the people who are here, right? So we kind of stay ahead of it. You're always planning, you're always preparing. um, but I think, probably a little bit of a build upon what you just asked a moment ago when you talk about what are you proud of is I get to oversee a football program, not just a football team, right? And for us, when we talk about that alignment, when we talk about this place appreciating the value of athletics, the tradition that we have, the facilities that we have, the investments that we've been able to make, our rev share, and we're continuing to grow to that. And we're going to talk about that, I know, with Dig and Dukes here in a little bit later in the show. But our fans, Jonathan, you hit the nail on the head, right? I find comfort when I am taking my kids to Top Golf before the Duke Club event on Friday night, and I'm watching what is in effect an American Conference semifinal in Denton. No disrespect to Denton, right? Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, but that wasn't what we saw 7 days, 8 days ago in Bridgeford Stadium for our season finale. And when all the dust settles, right, because we have a football program, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, and again, that contrast continues to be stark when you look at this program and what potentially could come next down the road. The offering that we have to our fan base, but also to players, coaches, everything around, truly is special and seems like it's on a trajectory to get even more special. I
Yep.
also did want to ask you because we remain in position for potentially receiving one of those coveted college football playoff berths. And one of the questions I know fans wanted to address today in this conversation to you is can you explain what role the Sun Belt Conference and Commissioner Keith Gill play in it advocating for the resume that JMU has to offer to the playoff committee? Because I know they are doing a lot to try to
Yep.
advance our cause.
Yeah, there's conversations and work that happen every single day. Now, you might not see it on Twitter. You're right, you might not see it, or X, but you might not see it on social media. But I would tell our fans to trust, right, that those conversations, that work is occurring every single day. I have probably over the last 4 or 5 weeks talked to Commissioner Gill more than I usually do, right? I usually have a check-in with him every so often, but we're talking, every other day. He's letting me know what he's hearing. I'm letting him know what I'm hearing. His staff is sharing information with us, asking us to verify. We're sharing information with them that we think helps supports our case and our resume. So a lot of information is being exchanged, like I said, almost daily. And I'll give a ton of credit to Chris Brooks, to Kevin Warner on our staff, to Matt Transu for sharing, again, those data points. But, I had the unique opportunity, I guess, to do the mock selection exercise early this year, where I really kind of found out how that process works, right? So the committee shows up in Grapevine. They go through really kind of sequestered in a lot of ways. The analysis of who should be the top 25 teams or the top 30 teams, and obviously you start to dwindle that down to what the field looks like. When they break, the liaison that's assigned to our conference checks in with our conference and just gives more behind the scenes, more intel than what the general public gets. And so that's a lot of the reason that Keith and I are talking, is to prepare him for that check-in with that liaison. And I again have learned through this process. I know people on the committee. I've shot them a text to say, hey, what's going on? Like, hey, can you help us out here? But you don't get a lot of feedback, and that, I think, is that way to protect the integrity of the process, and respecting the work that that committee does. But I think there is a time and a place for kind of a public campaign. And if we're 12-1, you better believe that we'll do everything in our power to make sure that committee knows that we think we belong, and it's up for them to decide ultimately if we do.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And obviously, JMU fans are making their case known across whatever your favorite social media platform is. And I have a feeling that's only going to continue to grow as the Duke's success continues. I did want to ask you about Tuesday, because it's a pretty important day in the history of JMU. And it comes at a time where investment in our program, whether it's in the facilities and the support staff around JMU football, which helps us perform each and every day, but also the investment in our student enhancement fund as a part of the Dig and Dukes campaign. Can you speak to Tuesday and the role that fans can play now in helping to position our program with the financial
Yep.
resources they need during a time of, let's be honest, it's never been more important to have the financial support to be able to compete in an ever-changing arms race across the country and at the Group of Five level?
Yeah, I thought when you were talking about Tuesday initially, I thought, yes, historic and significant, right? CFP rankings release. We've been saying that was going to be a historic, significant day these last several weeks, but hopefully this is the week where we break through. But
Yeah.
yeah, Digging Dukes is a phenomenal thing for us, a very important thing for us as a department, for our fan base to contribute in a very meaningful way. But December 2nd, Tuesday, 24 hours of support, 21 funds. Obviously, all 18 of our programs supporting our Dukes Lead program directly, our Proud and True Fund. But this year, the opportunity to make a direct impact on our Student Athlete Enhancement Fund, which, again, as we've talked quite a bit before, is a fund that was set up to um, retain, right? Retain student athletes, recruit student athletes, but most importantly, to try to provide that modern experience, that enhanced experience for them. Where Proud and True provides opportunity, student athlete enhancement does just that, right? That provides that elevated experience for our student athletes in this modern rev share world. And so we have a 2,500 donor goal that day. The last several years, we've continued to grow, we've continued to build. We've tried to be just a little bit more aggressive this year than we have in the previous years. And so that 2,500 donor goal is ambitious, but we think, again, with the power of JMU Nation, we should be able to absolutely blow past that. And the dollars that we raise will make a direct impact on, again, all 21 funds that we're raising money for. Grace Sheldon, Scooter Rankin, obviously our Duke Club staff have done a phenomenal job planning that day, right? I think everybody has seen the yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the videos that have been put into
Awesome video.
place, a lot of what is done to promote that. And it really culminates with what we call our giving games on Tuesday night inside the Convocation Center, 6 to 9 p.m., free to our fans, free to the public, where they can just come out and watch our student athletes compete in fun games against one another, including what used to be called Simon Says, but I think it's actually Matt Says, that I'm going to be conducting or hosting that on Tuesday night. And it's just a way for them to raise awareness and those important dollars for their program. So, we are very, very mindful of what we ask for, but we also want people to know that we ask with the most pure, positive motivations, which are to provide opportunities, to enhance experience, and frankly, to lead to competitive success that our fans expect and deserve.
Yeah, and remember, fans, if you want to get involved in that, obviously you're not going to be able to miss this. JMU social accounts are going to be putting out information about Diggin' Dukes leading up to Tuesday and then throughout the day. But diggindukes.com, and you can again make your impact on a all of our programs at JMU. But if you're focused on the football program specifically, it comes at a critically important time for us to have the resources that we need to continue to compete. And remember, our friends at Purple Nation, if you make a $100 donation or more, you're going to get 20% off at any of their store locations. Comes at a great time during the holiday season. So again, thank you to them. I did want to turn our attention really quickly, though, to Friday. We will host our first ever Sunbelt Championship inside of Bridgeforth Stadium. Pretty remarkable considering it's just been 4 years now at the FBS level, and we're already hosting a game inside Bridgeforth Stadium. It's a proud program in Troy who has had success over many, many years in the Sunbelt. What do fans need to know about this game? Just kind of logistically, I know there's been some questions about when will tailgate lots open. If there are fans who want to make sure they're inside Bridgeforth Stadium and they're not a season ticket holder, there are still some tickets available, correct?
Yes, we are not sold out yet. Again, as soon as we accomplished 6 for 6, we said, "Hey, why stop there? Let's not go. Why not go for 7 for 7?" And we're going to do everything in our power with a shorter, condensed amount of time to try to do that. But no doubt about it, right? Whether we sell every ticket or we sell most of them, I think we're all expecting a phenomenal environment to have championship football on December the 5th right here in Harrisonburg, in the Shenandoah Valley, in our state, is incredibly important. So a 7 p.m. kick. If you can't make it, we hope you can. But if you can't make it, ESPN national TV audience. But tailgating lots, much like last year, our Thursday night game will open at 4 o'clock. Again, we wish we could be earlier with that, but very respectful of that being the last day of class. Obviously, a work day for our campus community. Exams start the next day, and so what we're hopeful is that our fans will come out when the lots open, that they're there, that they get in their seats early, that they're engaged for the 4 quarters, just like they were for Washington State a few weeks ago. I mean, there were so many moments in that game where you kind of pinch yourself to say, I get to be attached and associated with this institution, this program, this team, this fan base. And I can't wait to watch us put that on display. And so if you want tickets, obviously our student tickets will go on sale tomorrow with Student Do Club. And then obviously the rest of our student body, I think a little bit later in the week. But there's a tremendous opportunity to make a difference. And you can do that by contacting our ticket office and certainly working with our Do Club staff to get whatever you need to make sure that we're creating that hostile home field advantage that we want so much.
I do want to ask you. I didn't have this in the notes to ask you, but I'll put it out there anyway because I have a feeling you're going to have a pretty good answer. What did it mean to you to see the student engagement during the Washington State game, whether it's the tarps off, all 4 quarters, about as loud of an atmosphere inside Bridgeforth as I can remember.
Awesome.
We've said a couple times on this show, it almost feels like we've really grown up as a fan base this year and have taken it to another level. We already were having success. We had a great thing, but it's felt different the last few weeks. And for that student turn out to be again here on Friday night on full display on ESPN is again in contrast to other venues across the country is another
Yeah.
way that this front porch can be a great advocate for what's special inside of Harrisonburg at this moment and in the future.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, one, it's been a concerted effort. That was something that I realized last year, right? We did see, and don't get me wrong, right? Sometimes the opponent, sometimes the score, that dictates it. But I think this year, all 6 games, our students did much better. Our fans did
Yeah.
much better in sticking around and making sure that we were creating that home field advantage for 60 minutes, right? We expected of our student athletes and our coaches. We always talk about being in this thing together, right? Let's make sure that 25,000 people plus are there from that opening whistle or warm-ups all the way till the very end. So it was a concerted effort. Again, I give a ton of credit to our team for not just doing giveaways, right? We're not trying to buy loyalty, but we're challenging loyalty. We're saying, hey, create something that you can be proud of when you're sitting in the club or you're sitting in the stands, 10, 15, 20 years from now, that, hey, we were part of that culture change that happened where students started sticking around and started being here for all 60 minutes. But to me, beyond just that concerted effort, it was a point of pride. I got home last Saturday night and you're reading social on Sunday, and you're seeing people talk about, I've been coming to games here for 50 years, right? Sandy Lax told me, I've been coming to games here for a long time. And that was the best home football game experience that I've ever experienced. And I heard that from so many people. And again, to be a part of that, to be leading the team that helped create that, from scheduling Washington State to, again, that concerted effort to create that type of an environment. Just a point of pride, and very proud of our team and our fans for creating that together. And I just keep going back to the fact that, as big of a game as that was, right, because of the opponent, because of the significance, it's not bigger than this one.
Yeah.
11-1 with the chance to get to 12-1, with a chance to be in year 4 a Sun Belt Conference champion right here, right here at home, with all the CFP implications that are also existing.
Well, I'm going to ask you, this is the last question. So let's paint a picture. It's maybe 10:15, 10:30 on Friday night. It's 22 degrees. There's a light flurry coming down on the field at Bridgeford Stadium, and you're standing on that field celebrating with this team, with this support staff, with these coaches, our first ever Sun Belt championship. What do you think that would mean to you? And more importantly, what do you think would mean to the student athletes, both current and past, who have represented this program to be conference champions of an FBS program? It's of an FBS conference. It's going to be a special moment for sure, and why the support of our entire fan base is so critical to be in the stands on Friday night.
I mean everything to me. I get to do, I love what I do, right? And I love what I do because I crave competition. I love being a part of a team. But I like helping people achieve their goals and their dreams, right? And that certainly starts with our student athletes. That's the number one thing, and it always will be. It's a coaching staff, it's a fan base. Um, we work hard, right? As a staff, we have good days. There are sometimes tough days and tough decisions that we have to make, and championship games are the culmination of that. That's why you do what you do, right? It's the opportunity to compete for a championship and a student athlete graduating with the skills that they need to be successful in life beyond sport. This is putting everything on display. And yeah, there will be a time, if we're successful, when the crowd kind of takes off and we get everybody home safely after we've put on a great show, and hopefully we have at least one more point than the other team, and we're kind of basking in that glory. It's going to be cold enough where that Coors Light that I'm going to have to celebrate is going to be even better, and so we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, Matt, again, thank you to you, but I know you'd appreciate me saying this. Thank you to your support staff. This is a tough time of year for everybody. Everybody's busy. Everyone's trying to do their Christmas shopping and everything that comes with the holiday season. But your staff is working extra to now plan for a Sun Belt championship game inside of Bridgeford Stadium, and the potential of so many moving parts. There's bowl season. There's potential playoff berths. There's just a lot going on, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes a lot of people who may never get on platforms like this doing great work to get us across the finish line. It's the athletic trainers. It's the student interns. Everyone who helps JMU football get to game days and be successful. It takes an army and it takes a village, and I know you're just one piece of that puzzle, but we appreciate what you're going to do this week. We know it's an incredibly busy time, but thank you for letting us be a part of the discussion and continuing to help in any other way. And then again, fans, Diggin' Dukes Tuesday, diggindukes.com. Make your commitment, make your donation, whatever amount it is, it makes a difference. And with that, Matt, we'll let you get back to monitoring again what's a wild situation, and I know we'll have a chance to talk to you soon.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, Tuesday and Friday we have a chance. Your listeners, right? Our fan base. What makes this place so special? You have a chance to do it again, and make it a positive difference on Diggin' Dukes, and then obviously 7 p.m. But get in there a lot earlier, and when Troy comes out of the tunnel for warm-ups, let's make sure that it's rowdy from the jump.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Matt.
I appreciate.
All right, and with that, we're going to bring on Taylor Atkins and Michael Evangelista. Guys, another great discussion with somebody who always makes himself available. I find myself sometimes it's easy to take it for granted, but it's very uncommon, just like a lot of things that are happening at JMU right now in the sea of the college football landscape, to have an administrator and a team that make themselves available as much as he did. Just want to give you a chance to reflect or react to anything you heard in that conversation. Then we'll move on to the next couple of segments in our show.
the thing that jumps off for me, John, is again like 6 for 6 on sellouts at Bridgeport Stadium. Just like the fervor and excitement behind the program right now, I feel like is an all-time high. And I think back to all the people in 2023 that were saying, "Oh, that's the height of JMU, and that's the most we'll ever get done, and that is our ceiling." And I feel like we've 100% surpassed it. And now you look at California beating SMU on Saturday, Duke and Virginia in the ACC championship, leaving up a sliver, if not, an open door for JMU in the shot at the playoffs. But more importantly, we're hosting our first conference championship, and I think our second year where we're actually eligible for it too. I think it's just an exciting time, and I'm already in the mindset of being in the stadium on Friday.
We're talking about our second 11-win season, and the season's not over yet. In 4 years of FBS, we say 4 years of FBS, 2 years recognized as FBS by the NCAA. I had a good conversation earlier today with a good friend, Ray Sillenberg, who was one of our Duke Club volunteers back in the day in Richmond. And we were kind of just reminiscing of the season that we've had and the season that's still yet to come. And I was telling him a story. So we spent the weekend out of town visiting relatives, and my son he's really interested in when the AP and coaches poll comes out on Sundays. He's only in first grade, and he was talking about is Tennessee still in? Is Tennessee still in? I said, no, Tennessee's. He's like, I told him it wasn't going to be in. I told him my friend Jackson, he's a big Tennessee fan, but I've been telling him JMU's always better than Tennessee. And I stopped to think for myself for a bit. To my first grader, in the limited time he's been a JMU fan, JMU being better than Tennessee is a normal thing. And he's going to go to school Monday and I guess, talk to his friend about Tennessee not being in the AP poll anymore. But in his mind, this isn't like little brother syndrome trying to spike the football. And he doesn't understand yet that what is normal to him is something really special that we're going through. And I don't say that as if this is a one-off. And I think that's the one thing that's kind of frustrated me the most as, engaging in some friendly smack talk with our friends in the American is programs like USF or Tulane or North Texas, who I get it. They have not been paying attention to JMU, but talking about you're just a flash in a pan. This was just your one good year. Well, and also that one good year was Signetti. And well, I guess you've been pretty good the last 4 years. And it's what is it? The 23 straight years without having a losing season, 22 game winning streak against schools from Virginia. I mean, what JMU has accomplished and what JMU is currently doing, I think we talked about this last week, that ROI chart that showed, football budgets based on where they're ranked. And JMU is the highest ROI on college football. And so I bring all of this back up to say, with that conversation we just had with Matt Roan, for every fan, for every Duke Club donor, for every potential Duke Club donor that's not a Duke Club donor yet, for every person that's been on the fence about season tickets, or for that person out there that's been disconnected from JMU and has, finally gotten to that point in their life where they can start to make some big investments. You saw we have an athletic director that's willing to spend his Sunday night to come on a fan podcast. Every time I hear him talk, every time I hear President Jim talk, every time I hear Coach Chesney or Coach Bradlin or anyone associated with the JMU athletics program, it's not only they don't seem to be caught by surprise with the success that they're having. To them, they see it as normal as my first grader does. And that's what gets me excited, because they're not treating this like, man, we're just so lucky to be here. They're treating it like this is where we expected to be. This is where we expect to continue to be. And again, if I'm looking to where can I get the highest ROI for my dollar, for my investments in season tickets and giving to the Duke Club, I know I sounds like a broken record. I know we're a Homer podcast, but daggone it, this is the most Homerous thing to be, is to give to JMU and to do it at a time when not only is there success on the field, but you have the support from the administration to take this program as far as we are willing to take it.
And to double down on that, Taylor, and also in a world of college football where we as fans probably have the most influence and impact. I mean, we're going to be pushing, Digging Dukes on Tuesday, share it out. We'll share the link out to everyone. It's Student Enhancement Fund. Now is the time. I think we have an opportunity as a fan base, with all the passion that we're talking about and the expectation, and for us to continue that, I think it's a phenomenal way to show out on Tuesday and show sort of the world what JMU Nation's all about.
Yeah, my final point to that, Taylor, real quick, just to piggyback on something you just said, is this staff expects to be here. They want to maintain it. I think it's even more than that. They're not satisfied with just where we are now. They want to continue to push us to new heights, and that's what I said in one of the posts earlier on social media. Is this really is a rocket ship with no limits on how high it could go, and that's a dream and a vision that, as Michael says, is now aligned across our athletics department, doing everything that they can to be creative to put us in the best possible position to reach that. But yeah, Taylor, real good.
Well, I mentioned this last week. There's a lot about being where do we rank nationally, but a big thing is where do you rank regionally? And Virginia Tech has not seen the AP poll since 2018. I think I saw something today that Virginia has not had a 10-win season since 1989. Old Dominion has never been ranked. Liberty's not even bowl eligible this year. I mean, we are very solidly in a position to make an argument for not only the top team in Virginia this year, but over years, and becoming a program that can compete with the top teams in this state and to be what do we call it? The kings of the Commonwealth.
There you go. Well, the Dukes reached their 11th win of the season on Saturday with a 59-10 win over Coastal Carolina in a game that had more than just ramifications on the Dukes. It had pretty significant impact on Coastal Carolina's program, as earlier today, their athletic director made the announcement that Tim Beck has been relieved of his duties. And if anybody watched that game yesterday, I was not surprised by that outcome today. I guess I'll start just because I was there in attendance. First of all, shout out to Afton. He is currently out to dinner with his family. They are on vacation this week, but shout out to Afton. I think he had 9 hot dogs, like 2 or 3 things of nachos. He took full advantage of the free concession stand. I will say I didn't really know what to expect of the free concessions. I will say I liked one aspect of it. I definitely liked the free drinks, being able to just walk up and grab a Gatorade or a soda. That part was pretty cool. I will just leave it at my stomach is feeling it today based off what I consumed at the free concessions. It seemed more of like a quantity over quality type situation. And I don't know. I think it leads you to maybe overindulge for what you would normally get at your tailgate experience or your in-game experience. But my general takeaway from Coastal Carolina, though, being down there, I guess this is my 3rd or 4th time down there. I came away so appreciative of what we had inside of Bridgeford Stadium. I know we've said on this platform a number of times, we've just never really found them to be a deeply serious program. That was on full display yesterday for me, whether it was the motorcycles that created the tunnel and they're revving up on the sidelines to the Revolutionary War.
Don't knock this.
I know some people.
I was going to say, I think Taylor would love that.
Hold on. I almost jumped in the middle of your little conversation with Matt and Roan, and I said, the Battle of Port Republic could be done at halftime of a JMU game. So
and again,
don't tempt me with
I'm
a
just
good
saying,
time.
I'm all for history and the celebration of it and the recognition of what makes it. I personally prefer a marching band at halftime over the Revolutionary. Maybe we have another way to get that to the student population around campus. But I guess my last takeaway from just what, and I mentioned it with Matt, that was about as engaged of a away game turnout as I've seen at any game that I've been to all season. Just was really awesome on a holiday weekend. How many people were just excited to be in Conway, whether it was from the tailgate lots or the fans that stayed till the very end of that game. And it mattered. And you could see how much it meant to the coaches, how much it meant to the players. But yeah, just it was awesome to see, because there was, again, so much pulling people in different directions this time of year. And for that many people to make the trip down to Conway. And again, as that game started to get away, it was even more obvious how much purple was in the stands as the Coastal Carolina fans made their way to the exits. You could see how much purple was there. I think that sends a powerful message. So bravo to everyone who made the trip. Michael, I'll go to you. Just your thoughts on a game that Duke start fast in the game, got a little bit rocky in the second quarter, but they stuck with it and obviously had a big second half performance to pull away from Conway. And I know you have some historical numbers just to show how much the domination of this program has been since JMU moved its way to the FBS level.
Yeah, when you win 59-10, it's a lot. It's pretty hard to glean anything or learn something out of that outside of just absolutely dominating them on the field. But I did want to quantify this a little bit because statistically, this game wasn't even close. And to your point, contextually, over the last 4 years since we entered the FBS in 2022, we have beaten Coastal Carolina by a score of 201-38. And I think someone on Twitter mentioned even with Coastal's 38 points, they would not win either of the games in the last 4 years. So again, sharing the sentiment of a deeply unserious program. But to your point, right? I think outside of the second quarter where watching the game, we kind of played with our dog food a little bit and we were kind of coming out there lax, even on the defensive side of the ball. And we needed to buckle down. And listening to the post-game presser, particularly with the players, they felt the same way. And to see them come back, and again, we are truly a second half team. For them to allow only 84 yards of total offense, for us to score 39 points, regardless who you're playing, is impressive to say the least. And to give JMU Nation just a little bit of thought here, this was the 5th time this year we've held an opponent under 50 yards rushing. And then also, if you look at our old cronies from the SoCon, App State, Coastal, and Georgia Southern, in total, we've only allowed 30 yards on the ground against those 3 opponents across each of the against those games in total. So yes, that means we allowed -5 rushing yards for Coastal. And I thought App State having 1 yard against us was pretty impressive. To us being the negative is even more. And also, this is the 4th game where we've at least scored 50 points and had 500 yards of total offense. So you think about a complete game, and I love what Coach Chesney did, having Coach Hitch go up there and do the fight song at the end of the game in the locker rooms was phenomenal because, I mean, at the end of the day, to out yard or outgain another team 3x, 525 yards to 170 is just ridiculous. And for us to have 286 rushing yards to their -5, again, I'm just quantifying this for everyone that's listening. This was just not a beatdown. This was the worst beatdown or the best beatdown we've had in the 4 years we've been in FBS. While at the end of the day, we were putting 50, 40, 37 last year on them. I mean, the game wasn't even close. And imagine what would happen if we actually played that second quarter and kind of kept the foot on the pedal. And I'm just really impressed with this team overall and how dominant they've been, not just on Saturday, but just honestly throughout the whole season, because I totally know that the College Football Playoff Committee is listening to us right now.
My thing with I have so many reasons why Coastal Carolina is just that team that gets under my skin. I think for one thing was they were the last game of our first season in FBS. And so while a lot of the other programs were maybe a little more welcoming to JMU early on because they played us early before we were a threat, we were kind of the biggest threat. They were ranked in that game. Grayson McCall, I believe, was out. And I just remember when we did win that game to claim the Kings of the East, a lot of Coastal Carolina fans, they didn't like the Kings of the East thing. They were saying, well, our quarterback was out. Just wait till next year. And then obviously we remember what happened next year and then the year after that. And obviously the year after that with this year. Everyone talks about being 4-0 against Sunbelt, being 4-0 against Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt, but really our winning streak goes back to that 2007 game. I posted this on social media yesterday or today, was when that Teal Beach Chicken took that cheap shot on Duke Dog in 2007. That was the beginning of a 5-0 win streak for the Dukes. We have outscored them 246-48 in that time period. And that was just the beginning of the Coastal stuff that I just don't like. I've loved this new tradition where we come in. You mentioned I wasn't worried in the second quarter, but it was almost like we came out of the gates fired up in the first quarter, went up 20-0 early, and then kind of let the foot off the gas because we didn't really respect our opponent. I don't know what happened in the locker room at halftime, but I imagine that they got maybe a little bit of talking to because they came out in that second half and, they didn't look back. And again, as we're talking about style points, as we get to the end of the season here, 59-10 looks really good on the scoreboard for what I'm assuming probably a lot of people probably didn't watch the whole game. It was nationally televised, which kind of helps us at the end of the season. We get another chance later this week, like John's mentioned last week. We're on the ESPN, the main network. So we have an opportunity to really put some style points up here as we continue to fight for our place among the college football playoff.
And 59-10 too against essentially the number 2 team in the Sun Belt East, as crazy as that sounds. So you can interpret that a number of different ways, but they're not only bowl eligible already going into the game, but they were the number 2 team in the East, which is pretty impressive enough. Obviously they fired Tim Beck, so that's all relative. But I think what's really cool about this game, obviously Wayne Knight, fantastic game again with 85 yards rushing. Alonzo Barnett, 3 total touchdowns, actually 4 total touchdowns against Coastal. But I think this team or this game really showed the depth of the program. We saw Drew Spinagati in there again, filling in for an injured Gannon Weathersby. We saw KJ Flo in the second half.
Wow. Yes.
I
wanted to give him a particular shout out because he was my son's first ever autograph at Dukes at Meet the Dukes 2 years ago when he was a freshman. And I just remember the time he spent, both him and this year, Michael Scott spent, 2 hours throwing footballs with kids. He got his first touchdown. So I was really excited for both of those guys.
And KJ Flo, and I remember him before he signed or when he was getting recruited, he was posting pictures at the AUBC on Twitter showing all the JMU love. And obviously when the prior staff had exited, he decided to stick to JMU. And to see him as a true sophomore in the spotlight, in the moment, stepping in there for DJ and getting that pick 6, like I felt like that was a huge moment because I remember that Charlotte game. All right. Last year, he started at nickel, I think, if I remember correctly. I was like, man, like he is being thrown into the fire. We see 8 different Dukes catch passes. We saw Isaiah Alston, right, get a pass on that long touchdown. He should have had 2, except there was a holding penalty. But to your point, Michael Scott gets the touchdown at the end of the game. But then also Braden Wazlowski. I mean, arguably, when you look at him on paper, what is he, 5'10", 5'11", but he constantly mosses other cornerbacks and defenders. He's just sneaky athletic, man. And I'm telling you, this offense is wild. I quote the great Mickey Matthews where he talks about, you need big ones, you need small ones in the outside of wide receiver. But, we've got guys that are good in the screen game. We've got good possession receivers. Landon Ellis is out, but, DeGennaro stepped up. We got Lakota. We've got Pfeiffer that's able to probably one of the best blocking tight ends, best overall tight ends in the G5. It's just wild to see all these different parts. And it's really impressive. I know we've been really, critical of the offensive coaching staff, but how they're able to put all these pieces together in positions to win at the end of the day has been really awesome. And then, to see like Aiden Gobira come in there and really step in. And I'll say this on the defensive side of the ball, we all saw what happened to Manny Bush, I think in the third quarter. We'll see what happens with him going into this game on Friday versus Troy, but it also shows just how deep we are in the defensive line because seeing guys like Taddeo get in there, Michael McMullen get in there and just really get their hands dirty. We saw Kels Bush in there as well. If you guys remember him, he was the Louisiana Tech transfer that has been really good in partial times. It's really cool to see the depth of this program as a whole.
Yeah, and I got a text. It was sometime in the first half, but y'all remember that hit where Jacob Thomas. I mean, he came in on that guy. I got 2 texts from 2 different people, and they both said, I think Jacob Thomas just killed a guy. I mean, it was such a violent hit. Joby Mallory, did we talk about him yet? I mean,
Joby Mallory, 174 yards on the ground, like in a 73-yard touchdown. How could we forget about him?
Both this game and the App State game, he averaged over 12 yards a carry, had 4 touchdowns between those 2 games. I want to go back to Isaiah Alston because, he started off the season with one of the first touchdowns of the year. He ended with one of the last touchdowns of the year. He also had that one great catch that was called back. I think it was because of a holding penalty at the late from Sluka. And then the very next play, he threw it to Michael Scott. But, I love that when we've had some guys injured like Ellis, like Fuller, just Michael, you said it best. The depth that we've had to come back to this, great showing by the Dukes, and really excited as we head into this week against Troy.
And just one other point on this game, good success again from our special teams units, a career-long 47-yard field goal during yesterday's game. And again, the growth in that position bodes well. Like if we find ourselves in a tough game going forward, to know that you have confidence you're a kicker at a time of year, that is an underrated aspect of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Special to see. And we're just seeing the depth, as you said, Michael, specifically the number of people who caught a ball yesterday is something that is really exciting to see. That the growth of this entire team continues to shine the light on new players each and every week, and that bodes well going into Friday's game against Troy. Michael, I'm going to come to you. This is a program that has historically been one of the Sun Belt's strongest, multiple Sun Belt championships from the Troy Trojans. What have you seen from this year's group, and kind of maybe set the stage for this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a program that's 8-4 coming into this game, 6-2 in the Sun Belt. They're under second-year head coach Gerard Parker, who, by the way, comes from the James Franklin tree, for what it's worth. Just want to throw it out there. Coached with Ricky Ronnie back in the day. But it's kind of reminds me a little bit of the Washington State team, where you don't really know what you're going to get, right? Like, this is a line of scrimmage football team. Everyone remembers when John Summerall was there in 2023 when we beat him, I think, 16-14. At Troy. That was a smash mouth game. And I don't think Gerard Parker has moved away from sort of that style of ball. But you look at a team that, had a close loss to Clemson. We were all seeing that at the start of the year. They play them toe and toe until the end there. But then they lose 33-0 to ODU, which we're now seeing. ODU is 9-3. They're about to have their first 10-win season if they win their bowl game ever, and they got a couple votes in the AP poll, but then they beat Texas State 48-41 in overtime, so they can they can spread the ball around and score a little bit. They beat South Alabama 31-24 in overtime. I don't know if that's good, right? Like, it's kind of like we're trying to figure them out at the end of the day. They average about 25 points a game, but they give up 24. But at the end of the day, it's a hard-nosed team. So, John, you mentioned, I think they've been in 3 of the last 4 Sun Belt championships now. So it's a proud group and a proud program. And also, I'm excited to see how they can travel, right? I think we're expecting maybe some flurries on Friday, but like, I always love meeting other fan bases. So I'm curious who's going to make the trip or how they're going to make the trip from Troy. That's interesting. How many connections that could potentially be unless you're driving that. But they're a hard team. I think they have 2 of the best linebackers, I think, in the conference, with Stringer, and the other one, escapes my mind right now, but they both have over 100 tackles for this team. It's going to be a tough one, right? But again, like, how do we take advantage early? I love the way that we jumped on Coastal. I think they took the Washington State slow start to heart a little bit there. I think we're going to need to do the same on Friday, because it's going to be cold, it's going to be dark, it's going to be perfect. But that plays into what they want to do, right? They want to dominate time of possession. They want to slow the game down. They want to muck it up. The quicker we can get away from that and start sort of, pushing our agenda on them, I think the better off we'll be on Friday.
Yeah, you mentioned time of possession, and the game yesterday with Coastal, we were plus 13 in that. So that was another thing where we talked about those teams that want to string the game out against us, Marshall and Washington State. If you can get close to us in time of possession, you're going to give yourself a chance. So we were talking pre-show about this. On paper, the offense does not look very impressive. Points per game, they're 10th in the Sun Belt. Yards per game, they're 13th. Rushing, they're 14th in the Sun Belt. Passing, they're 8th. And their sacks against they give up the most sacks at 14th in the conference. So offensively, not a team that looks very impressive on paper. But what does look impressive is their defense is pretty strong. Their points per game, they're 3rd in the conference. Yards per game, 4th in the conference. Rushing yards per game, 7th in the conference. Passing yards per game, 4th. And they do they're 3rd in the conference in sacks. So they do have some good defensive players. Michael, you mentioned a couple of them. Jordan Stringer, he's 6th in the conference in tackles, 10th in tackles for loss. Their DN, Donnie Smith, is 7th for tackles for loss, 1st in the conference for sacks, leading the conference with 8 sacks on the year. Devin Lafayette, their safety, is 8th in tackles in the conference. So they do have some pretty good defensive players. This Troy team, I would say we had the game where we were close with them down there, but another little kind of added caveat to the history that doesn't really exist, but it does between us and Troy, is the 2 years that they won the conference championship in 22 and 23 were the 2 years that we won the East and weren't eligible for the conference championship. So there is a little bit of a, I don't want to say asterisks, because, they won who they played, but, JMU not having a chance to play in those conference championships, it is kind of, call it a coincidence, call it fate, that they are the ones that we're finally getting a chance to play in Harrisonburg this Friday. I'm not too worried about what our defense is going to, they're going to have to score on us. And that's kind of the way I thought about Washington State. I do not see them putting up a lot of points on us. I think it can be a low game, but if the weather's a little messy, if it's a little cold, does it slow things down? Do we slow the game down? I do think a slow game kind of plays in our favor a little bit, but I am curious to see how we respond to what seems to be one of the better overall defenses in the Sun Belt. And but I just can't imagine a fired up JMU team with everything they have on the line. We talked to Roan pre-show. Ticket sales look very good for the Sun Belt Championship, but there are plenty of tickets still available. So please go grab those, especially students. We're really excited to see what the student turnout is going to be for this. But I mean, that's just the atmosphere is going to be electric. It's going to be cold. It's going to be dark. It's going to be perfect. And this is what we've all wanted. I mean, our first FBS championship game in year 2 that we're eligible, and we're playing it and we're hosting it in Harrisonburg.
And I'll add to that too. I think, we were all kind of watching Troy versus USM, whether it's they actually watched the game or watched the ticker, because, we all kind of expected Southern Miss to be in this game, right? Charlie Huff's got that game going. They've got, 2/3 of Marshall's championship team last year down there in Southern Miss. But to see Troy pull out a 28-18 victory kind of shows you what they're made of. And Southern Miss is no slouch. And I thought it was really interesting. Goose Crowder, who I think they've been deploying a bit of a 2-quarterback system, and they've settled with Goose, had 296 yards throwing with 3 touchdowns. And against Southern Miss, which I don't have the stats in front of me, they've been pretty good defensively, right? I think they held up against, Mississippi State pretty well, and they've got some really good athletes up front.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned before the show that he got injured in the Memphis game, so he has not there. Who is it? Tucker Kilcrease has been playing the majority of the games this year. It looks like he got hurt in the Old Dominion game, so they have kind of been back and forth on quarterbacks. So we will likely see a quarterback that has not been playing for the majority of this Troy season. So those offensive statistics that are pretty low, are they a little bit of a paper tiger? Is it really as honest as what they are? But, their running back, he's averaging 62 yards a game. He's 8th in the conference. I did see that he had 21 of their 38 carries against Southern Miss, so it doesn't seem like they have as diverse of a backfield as we do. It seems like he takes a lot of the load. So if our D-line and our linebackers can hit him early and hit him often, I think we can, limit him and what he can do.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I don't want to sound boring, but it is like if we can control the line of scrimmage, this should be our game, because that's what they did against Southern Miss. They had 428 yards of offense against a Southern Miss team, which, again, fully expected them to be in this game instead, but they found a way to get it done. I will say this. They did have 11 penalties versus Southern Miss, and we all saw how chirpy Coastal was, particularly when the game was going away from them. I expect something the same, right? If Temple's going to be, not Temple, Troy is gonna try to get in our face. They're probably going to try to push us around a little bit, similar to Washington State, get under our skin, especially with all the noise around college football right now, right? JMU, top of the world, right? We're 11-1, first time ever. Our heads are super big, and here comes 8-4 Troy that had to fight, scrape, and pull to get into this game. We're going to need to stay focused, right, throughout the stretch, especially if you think about it, it's a short week. So as Chesney likes to say it, tomorrow is going to be more like Tuesday, and Tuesday is going to be more like Wednesday, and vice versa. We're going to be able to have to handle that, especially with how cold it might be on Friday.
Yeah, and again, it's good that we're at home, because that's one less day that we have to worry in changing our schedule. They're going to have to travel, make their way to Harrisonburg, probably very different conditions than they're used to playing in. I think that plays in our favor. Did want to transition though, because Taylor, I know that there's been a lot of discussion online about the resume that JMU has for the college football playoff. And as we look towards Tuesday's next set of rankings that will come out, I wanted to come to you because I know you've got quite a few statistics that you'd like to put out there to add to the conversation. We had a good conversation this week with Eric Pitzer from No Bowls, talking about why there just needs to be an honest look at the group of five and an honest look at what JMU is bringing to the table. So I'll give you the floor in terms of, again, your look at the resume that JMU is offering the College Football Committee.
So going back 4 weeks ago to week 12 is when we finally cracked the AP. We were 24th in the AP, but we weren't ranked in the CFP. And I don't think too many people were surprised by that. I think, we knew it was early. We knew we still had a lot to prove. And so I think everyone was okay with that. But in week 13, we moved up to 21. Teams 20, 21, 22, 24, and 25 all lost. And I think I came on here and I said, we will definitely be ranked this Tuesday. And we weren't. Fast forward to week 14, which is last week. Teams 21, 22, and 23. I said, all right, that's now 8 teams that have fallen out of this ranking. Surely JMU will be ranked. And we weren't. So now we move into today. We've cracked the top 20. We're number 19 in both the AP and the coaches poll, and numbered 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23 have all lost. I'm not going to say it again on this podcast because maybe I'm the reason. Maybe I'm the curse. But you have to think at this point that at some point, James, they just have to get in there. I mean, the numbers, if you look at the resumes, if you look at all the numbers, all the stats, all the computer algorithms, I mean, I think we're 18th in ESPN strength of resume. That's the highest of any G5, G6. We're 19th in both the AP and coaches. That's the highest in the G6. We're 28th in the Sagarin. We're 28th in ESPN FPI. We're 32nd in Massey. Also, and I know people say, I don't understand how this is, and they want to argue back and forth. The All-State Playoff Predictor, as of today, has JMU as a 60.8% chance. Now, in the past, when that number's been lower than 50%, they were saying, oh, well, that's because they plan on putting the American team. So both American teams combined is over 50%. Listen, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm not saying that it means anything that's on paper, but right now, JMU has a very good shot. And I would just push back a little bit on the idea that like everything that JMU is hanging on it, that Duke has to beat UVA, and that's the only way. Listen, I don't know how they look at Tulane and North Texas going forward. I think that 59-10 win over Coastal Carolina, if they're all about wins that they can go back and forth and look how other teams performed. UVA was 47-7 against Coastal Carolina. South Carolina, I know they're not a playoff team and ranked right now, but 51-7. So JMU put up the same numbers that these P4 teams are putting up. I think that we have a lot to show on Friday night. So all that to be said, based on the showing we put up Friday night and based on what North Texas and Tulane do in their game, it seems to me that they're still communicating that Duke winning is not the one and only way for JMU to get in this playoff conversation. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, and this is a little bit of rat poison for Michael, is that I think JMU's a 22.5 point favorite right now against Troy. We are the only team that has more. We're the only conference championship where the spread is more than a touchdown favorite other than Texas Tech and BYU. Every other conference championship right now is less than a touchdown. The spread is less than a touchdown, including that ACC game where I believe as of this podcast, Duke is a 2.5 point underdog. So, Michael, if you have any thoughts to that, or John, because
I was going to say, like, I mean, this may be a little bit of, preparing for the worst, but I want to double down with what you said. Like, for us to put all of our joy and the success on the college football playoff would be doing this 2025 football team a complete disservice, right? To think about it, when 18 months ago, all of college football was like, oh, JMU's dead and gone. And what did the UNC guys say? That we were put together by duct tape and barbed wire or whatever. Yep. Like, for us to, number one, go have 6 wins over bowl eligible teams behind Ohio State, who has 7. There are only 3 teams in the country that have undefeated conference play records. That's James Madison, Indiana, and Ohio State. And at the end of the day, too, it's all about just winning. We're also 6th in the country in winning point margin with 21 points a game. So everyone's going to talk about, well, your strength of record sucks or your strength of schedule sucks. The Sun Belt is down. My question is, what did you do with that schedule? And to see how dominant this team has become, and we heard in the offseason, right? Like, on paper, we knew how good this team would be. But at the end of the day, this isn't a video game, right? Games are not won on paper. But to see this team gel, and I go back to what I mentioned, right? We had 8 receivers or 8 different players catch receptions. We had multiple people on defense contribute on Saturday when they had to in garbage time. Like, all of this is coming together. And when you look at teams, and similar to college basketball, you want teams that are on the rise, that have momentum. Who has the momentum right now? It's a James Madison. At the end of the day, if anyone watched the Charlotte versus Tulane game, Charlotte's defense gave their offense every opportunity to be in that game. I think they forced 3 or 4 turnovers in the first 3 quarters. And arguably, at the end of the day, Charlotte's offense, they had nothing. But Tulane found ways to give up the ball. And who's playing better offense? Who's playing better defense right now than us? And at the end, and if you look at it too, every, I guess, national poll, you mentioned Massey, Sagarin, FPI, SOR, we're ahead of Tulane at the moment outside of the college football committee. So, at the end of the day, I don't want to hound too much in the playoffs, but I want all of us as fans to really realize how special the season has become. And I think AB3 is probably in line. I mean, outside of Colton Joseph, who else is going to be the offensive player of the year or maybe even the Summit player of the year?
Yeah, that or Wayne Knight potentially. Yeah,
Or Wayne Knight, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just really big. Yeah, obviously everything this team has achieved, and if we are fortunate enough to be able to hoist the Sun Belt Trophy on Friday night in Bridgeport Stadium, that's a dream.
First time.
For the first time. That's a dream that many of us 10 years ago didn't even know if we would be FBS. When we went FBS, there's a lot of talk about it's going to take years to get that first winning season. So this is a special season. It will be a special season. The playoffs are not going to impact the level of what already has been accomplished. But I'm also a big believer in just not speaking things into existence in the negative sense. And I think there's just too many JMU fans. I think our friends over at the Duke's JMU Barstool were even saying like, we got to win. It all comes down to Duke winning. That is not the case as of right now. Shout out to Herd Bros. I don't know what that account is on Twitter, but it's the Marshall account. He put together this really cool graphic, and it's the CFP resume between Tulane, JMU, North Texas, but also UVA and Duke. And among those 5 teams, JMU is the top strength of resume, the top FPF rank. This is the other big thing. There are only, I think there's only 6 schools in the country right now that have 6 or more wins over bowl eligible teams. So for all the talk about JMU's strength of schedule and all of that, we might not have had some of the best teams, best resumes, but I think some of those other schools are playing some really good teams and then playing some really bad teams. JMU's schedule at the very end there is kind of balancing out to like a lot of decent, average, middle of the road competition. And again, like Michael, you said 6 in the country in scoring margin. What we're doing against this schedule is something that I would expect any other top 25 program to do. I will say, I want to give a shout out. Well, I'm not going to say their name because I don't know if they want their name associated with this fanciful prediction, but I did want to say this on the podcast because this is just, I'm going to go straight fantasy here. This is just, I'm being as hyperbolic as I can be, but let's just have some fun with this. All right, ready? Because of what happened in the last 24 hours specifically. All right, Duke wins the ACC championship, doesn't make the playoff. Both, let's say JMU and Tulane make the 12 and 11 seed. All right, are you guys with me still? All right. We, as the 12 seed, get sent to number 5, where? Oxford, Mississippi, to play an Ole Miss team. Now, I'm coming back to that. Also, this next weekend, Ohio State and Indiana for the Big Ten championship. Indiana doesn't win the game, but they make it real close. So they drop from 2 to 4. All right, everyone still with me? 12 versus 5, JMU, Ole Miss, and Oxford without Lane Kiffin. Who knows where some of their players are? JMU pulls off the upset in Oxford, Mississippi. The 12 seed heads to the 4 seed, Bloomington, Indiana. JMU versus JMU for the quarterfinal college football playoff. Let's come on. We can have some fun, right?
I'm not dream. We can
can't even imagine
all the lines.
Listen, whoever's listening, you take that parlay, you go to Vegas tonight, put $100 on it. Whatever you win, donate it to the NIL next year, donate it to the Student Enhancement Fund, the Duke Club.
Oh, that's a good point. Chandler makes a good point. If we did play Indiana, that would be at a bowl location. Because the first rounds are on campus games. So it would be.
Now, I know whoever's listening to this is going to say, well, Taylor, they're probably going to rank Ole Miss lower. But listen, don't think too much about it. Just have some fun with it, guys.
This is fun. We're allowed to do
fun.
Hey.
But yeah, I think when you see what JMU has, I want what he's smoking. Listen, folks, when it happens, remember where you heard it first.
Well, Michael, I did want to touch on real quick because it was a wild day. We mentioned it a little bit off the top with Matt Roan in the coaches carousel around the country. Kind of felt like a dam broke today. Most of the news focused on Lane Kiffin and his saga and how he left Ole Miss. But obviously programs like South Florida now, Memphis, Tulane getting their coaching vacancies now and Northwestern. So many programs around the country finding Michigan State, not Northwestern. Their coach from Northwestern goes to Michigan State. What did you see today? I know there's plenty of rumors out there on the football scoops of the world, the Pete Thamels, even JMU, obviously Coach Chesney being mentioned for a number of jobs out there. I will continue to, we've been victims of this. There are a lot of fake accounts out there now that is very easy to fall victim to. So just make sure you're checking your sources over the next couple couple of days, but it's going to be kind of crazy. What did you see today, and kind of your eye on the ever-changing college landscape of who's coaching who, and it seems like it's changing by the second.
Yeah, double down on that. Check all of the headers. If you're on Twitter,
underscores,
underscores. Check the names. Check if Central is spelled without an R. You'll never know what's going out there today. But it's been wild. Anyone who's been on, I've probably been on my phone way too much the last 24 hours, and I need to take a digital detox here. But to see, like Auburn hiring Alex Golish from USF, Florida hiring John Summerall, Arkansas hiring Ryan Silverfield, which honestly I didn't see that one coming, especially with what he was doing in Memphis. I think Memphis was more excited about that than Arkansas was, and Arkansas's AD is Hunter Yurachek, and if you go on the online, he's the head of the college football committee and all that good stuff. I want to just share some context, right? National Signing Day, how much value you still put on it now with the transfer portal happening, it's on Wednesday, right? Yeah. December 3rd. And I think the timing of a lot of these hires and these dominoes falling makes sense, right? Coming out of the regular season, new teams that these coaches are going to need to fill in spots, need to fill in staffs, need to fill recruiting boards, need to understand who they're going to go after and target and who they're going to bring over. All that needs to happen quickly. I'm not saying it's right. I think it's like, what other sport can a coach and players leave, 4/5 of the way through the season than us? But that's the way it falls right now. And I always think that with the volatility of what today looks like, Michigan State firing their coach and then hiring potentially Pat Fitzgerald, who remember was at Northwestern. Yeah. It shows you, like, could the NCAA come in and say, hey, we need to put some guardrails around this, or at least some limitations? I don't know, just with the money that's being thrown around. I will say this too. I'll remind everyone, there is only one transfer portal now going forward, and that's in January. So in the last couple of years, when you've had programs that, had quote unquote the luxury of reevaluating their rosters in the spring and having another portal, addition or attrition in, at the end of spring practice, you have to get that right now in January, because that whatever roster you're going to have on January 31st or whatever going to February, that's your roster for the subsequent year. So to see the timing of all this, no surprise there. Obviously, we're in the throes of it as well, and we're all refreshing our Twitters and whatnot. But it's pretty wild to see it. I'm curious what Coastal's going to do. What firing back and moving on? Where are they going to go? What is Liberty going to do, or what's Chadwell going to do? There's a lot of that happening behind the scenes right now, and to see what's happening with agents and institutions and backdoor conversations, you name it. Just be ready for it, and it's called a coaching carousel for a reason.
Well, I think Rick Pitino from St. John, the basketball coach today, came out and said, he's like, look, I'm not trying to get in the middle of telling college football what to do, but he goes, can you imagine me taking a team to March Madness and then quitting my job the first week of March? I mean, he's just speaking. He's saying the part out loud that everyone's talking about. And I talked about, I don't like JMU fans speaking negative things into existence as it relates to college football playoff. Another common thing that I've heard a lot of JMU fans say is, this is the bad thing about being G5, is that we're always going to be the stepping stone for someone, or we're always going to be the minor league. But that's not a JMU problem. It's not even a G5 problem. Again, Ole Miss is in the top 10 right now. They're losing their coach to LSU. With the amount of coaching vacancies that are currently out there, I mean, listen, if Tony Elliott wins the ACC and goes 11-2, I mean, do you think he's going to have a better some better options than UVA? I mean, my point is where people sometimes focus as this is a JMU problem, this is a G5 problem. I'd go on a limb and say, other than maybe 3 or 4 or 5 programs in the country, it's a problem for everyone, because everyone is going to be tempted with or incentivized by an offer from, I wouldn't even say
look at Alabama. I mean, DeBoer is still being mentioned for the Penn State job.
Exactly. It's like DeBoer might be going up to State College. Who knows?
Right. Or the BYU coach. I mean, to your point, it's across the landscape. Even Lincoln Riley now mentioned as a possible candidate for some of these jobs. It's great.
I say this because I don't want JMU fans to be discouraged, as this is a unique problem to us, and quote unquote, we've got to get out of the Sun Belt, out of the G5, whatever, because there's nowhere right now, there's nowhere you can run to escape this, because there are coaches even going to what I would consider lesser programs if the incentives are right. I mean, that's how you've gotten where, I mean, Duke has become a program as of late. Indiana, Vanderbilt, UVA. I mean, there's a lot of programs that were not considered great programs, but we're given the right opportunity to the right coach, and they've made them something. So I say all of that to say, whatever happens over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months, this is something that all of college football is trying to figure out. I do think there will come some sort of common sense, logical solution at some point down the road, because it's not sustainable where it is. And I think everybody recognizes that. But in the meantime, and I'm going to go back to the very beginning of this episode, we are a program that has not had a losing season in 23 years. We have this 22-game winning streak over schools in Virginia. We're arguably, statistically, one of the most successful FCS, FBS transitions ever. We've been one of the top schools in Virginia for the past decade. All the attention from ESPN, the national TV games, College Game Day, everything. If there is a vacancy at JMU anytime in the near future, I mean, there's part of me that says, are we not one of the most attractive jobs in the country, considering all the coaches that have left? You know, you had Mike Houston going off to East Carolina, you had Cignetti going to Indiana. I mean, there's just not we're going to have our pick of some great folks, and I'm not saying that in the sense that we're going to have to go through that situation, but it's just everything going on right now is not unique to JMU.
Yeah, and I'll just say I've said to this that people have asked. We're a golden ticket job now. I've often compared JMU football to VCU, and what they've done is being able to reload as a program. But regardless of whether there is an opening this year or 5 years from now or whenever it happens, this program has always been bigger than any one person. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than any of the players individually. But the key for me is that we have, as Michael points out on a regular basis, alignment now in key sectors in terms of what the investment needs to be, the creativity, and as you said, a multi-year now commercial to coaches across the country to say, look what's happening in Harrisonburg. Look at the support that exists there. Look at the facilities. Look at the commitment for future facility enhancement that is also being now publicly talked about. I just think I've often said this program, the job of any coach at JMU is to continue to push this program to new heights and to leave it better than what they found it. Wherever we land in this college football search, I don't think it's even remotely possible to argue that we're not a stronger program today than we were when Kurt Cignetti here. And the same can be said for Mike Houston, Everett Withers before. That's the job of a coach here. And I feel strongly about where we stand. Again, hopefully we never get to that place, but if we do, we have the right decision makers in place now to put us in a very good decision, and also proactive leadership to make sure we're ready if we do need to make that decision.
Well, and one thing to add on to that, because I had this written down in my notes. This is from a tweet that I put out earlier this week, and it was talking about, there was that graph, if you saw it, where it showed the winning percentage of all the teams over the glass since 2012, and it had JMU only behind Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia, which are all teams that won multiple national championships during that time. So since 2012, we have a 78.5% winning percentage since 2012. And then there's a lot of people that would, of course, for our friends from the American Conference, that would come and say, but so much of that was FCS. Well, we have a 79.2 winning percentage in our time as FBS. So John, to your point, this has been a winning program yesteryear. This is a winning program today. It's going to continue to be a winning program for a long time.
Awesome. Guys, want to go to final thoughts? I know there's a lot what we've touched on tonight. Been a jam-packed episode. Again, thank you to Matt Roan for his commitment to getting his voice out in this conversation. Michael, I know you wanted to touch on one more time the Student Enhancement Fund, everything that's happening on Tuesday. This is a really important day.
100%. I think, if you're on the fence, right, on Tuesday for where you want your hard-earned dollars to go, this is the opportunity to do it. When you look at the Student Advancement Fund, I think there's three really big points. The future of JMU athletics is being decided today, right? College athletics is changing fast. Schools that invest now will lead, and those that won't will fall behind, point blank. And the fund ensures that JMU can compete nationally, right, in that arena. I think number two, I mentioned earlier, we have direct impact, right? Your support today helps JMU's ability to really recruit and retain top talent. And lastly, too, like we talk about, our success over the last 22, 23 years, our success to be able to bring in game days and conference championships. This strategic investment protects JMU's long-term success. It positions JMU as a leader, right? And how do we do that is directly impacting the program, raising funds. We can do that on Tuesday. And I think it's an opportunity for all of us to get together as JMU Nation, whether you're on the fence of, oh my gosh, like it's college football playoff or bust, or if you're like us and you're excited about winning the first Sun Belt championship, if you want to continue that success, that's the best way to do it.
Awesome. Taylor.
I'm a little heartbroken today because my buddy Alex Taylor, the beat writer for Wyoming football, ranked JMU 8th in the country on his AP ballot last week. He dropped us to 9th. And that just, I mean,
crushing.
It ruins your day.
Wyoming. What are they doing?
Everyone's asking about, what more do we have to do to prove to be in the CFP? I want to ask Alex Taylor, 59-10 against Coastal Carolina, and you drop us from 8th in the country to 9th. Totally. I actually reached out to him. I was going to see if he wanted to hop on the podcast. All joking aside, I think it's pretty awesome that there's an AP voter out there giving us a top 10 ranking, deserving or not. But that's pretty cool. And I've reached out to him because I'm just kind of curious. It's not like it's someone down in Hampton Roads or down the street in Carolina or something. It's someone way, way west of the Mississippi. And so I would love to, and as much as I can tell, it does not have any connections to the East Coast, JMU, anything. So I would love to hear from him what has us in the top 10 of FBS. But maybe it's exactly what we are, boys. And when if we do get into the college football playoff and we do beat Ole Miss down in Oxford, and then we pull off the stunner in Indiana, go to the semifinals, give me some more of that Kool-Aid. Let's take this all the way.
I love it. My final thought is going to be simply encouraging fans to just soak in this entire week. Whether we get good news on Tuesday or not, in terms of our path to a college football playoff, you're going to have an opportunity on Friday night. One thing I can guarantee is if you are inside Bridgeford Stadium in 27-degree weather on a Friday night in December, you're a dialed-in, passionate fan of this program. I can't personally think of a cold weather game inside Bridgeford that hasn't been special. Even the Montana game that didn't go our way, that was one of the more incredible atmospheres I've experienced in Bridgeford. Obviously, the Sam Houston game, the Weber State game. There have been so many moments on cold weather evening games on ESPN in Bridgeford that are the games that we're all talking about for years to come. This has the potential to be that, and the opportunity to say I was there when JMU won their first FBS conference title game. That's special. It's something you're going to want to remember. So get your tickets now. Convince your friends. If you have students who are on campus now, get them to reserve their tickets, because this is one of those things. I know there's a lot that is pulling your attention this time of year. I know there are many very legitimate reasons that it's hard for you to make your way back up to Harrisonburg on a Friday night. Everybody's got work. There's Christmas parties. But if you can make it happen, get inside Bridgeford Stadium for one last game this season. Soak it in, enjoy it, because none of this, as we say time and time again, is guaranteed. My other final thought, I'm going to push it again because it's such a unique opportunity. We're all buying Christmas gifts right now. As Michael said on Tuesday, Digging Dukes, hey, give that $100 donation. Get 20% off Purple Nation. It kind of equals out when your savings on your holiday gifts. That's another incredible gift that Carol Benassi and your Purple Nation team are doing to try to get some people engaged in this effort, maybe who've never donated before. So again, check out one of those Purple Nation locations, Northern Virginia, 2 locations in the Richmond area and one at the coast, and you can make your impact on Tuesday. It comes at a critical time. And with that, we're going to say good night for today. We're going to thank our sponsors one more time. Skyline Financial Partners, Champions Dry Bourbon, Where's Woody, Purple Nation, Shoker and Associates, the Dead Meat Society, Outdoor Kitchen Creations, and Valley Road Vineyards. On behalf of Taylor, Michael, and producer Chandler and Afton, who I'm sure is trying to walk off the hot dogs he ate yesterday, thanks for joining us again. We appreciate your support of JMU Sound Off, and we will see you inside of Bridgeford Stadium Friday night, 7 p.m. ESPN. As always, go Dukes.